before. As the head of La Medicina de Nueva Esperanza, Oscar Hernandez was an important man. The South American pharmaceutical company competed with Asia, Europe, and its neighbors to the north. Hernandez was middle-aged with fading black hair and an athletic build that was quickly degenerating into a state that could be called pudgy. From the helipad high-top company headquarters, the CEO looked out over the city of Veracruz. The sky was clear, too clear for the murky business that Hernandez was being forced to attend to. However, it was necessary if his company hoped to be competitive on the world stage. Hernandez's thoughts were crowded out by the sound of turbines and large rotors digging greedily into the hot air that hovered over the city. He looked in the sound's direction and spotted a low-flying helicopter approaching the helipad. The helicopter was a Mi-17, a Soviet-built aircraft. Hernandez knew that some neighboring countries stocked up on Russian hardware due to foreign alliances and a desire to thumb their noses at the United States. The CEO wished that his business associates would buy less provocative aircraft to transport clients. When Hernandez had to fly in the Mi-17, he was constantly afraid that the United States or its allies would mistake it for an enemy aircraft and shoot it down. After Hernandez had taken cover, the helicopter gently sat down. The side door opened, men in unmarked uniforms jumped out, and they guided the executive quickly into the waiting aircraft. After all were on board, one of the men slid the door shut and the helicopter quickly lifted off. The men who surrounded Hernandez did not speak. They simply sat and watched him with their faces obscured by their helmets and visors. The only variation on the theme was the pilot. Her delicate chin protruding out from her helmet made a striking contrast. She seemed to be the only member of the crew that did not radiate the unmistakable aura of the hired killer. The helicopter quickly crossed the city and flew out over the Gulf. It kept flying until a ship came into view. The ship quickly grew larger as they closed the distance between it and themselves. The ship was white, 300 feet long, and looked like 1,000 other Chinese-made cargo ships. However, this ship flew no flag and HV-1 was the only marking on its outer hull. This ship was the best-kept secret in the fields of scientific research. It was known as Ocean Lab or OL to those in the know. It was a state-of-the-art scientific and medical research facility. The ship had the latest scientific instruments and equipment. It also operated in international waters where any experiment could be performed. Across the globe, pharmaceutical companies vied for space aboard HV-1. They eagerly petitioned the shadowy board members that controlled Ocean Lab in hopes of reaping the benefits of unrestricted research. Hernandez's company was a client of Ocean Lab and had already sampled the riches that could be gleaned from the ship's research facilities. Now Hernandez feared that he would be paying the price for yielding to raw ambition. He hugged his briefcase nervously as the helicopter circled, attained permission to land, and then sat down on the ship's helipad with a thunk. Once the rotors stopped spinning, the crew jumped to their feet, disembarked, and hustled the visiting CEO out of the aircraft. From there he was taken below and guided through a maze of labs. Hernandez was then forced to climb several flights of stairs and was shoved into an executive office. The office belonged to Zarina, one of the senior members of the board. The woman was in her late 40s, wore her hair stylishly, and dressed as an Eastern European would when confronted with the heat of summer. Her eyes were big, cold, and her gaze was so sharp that it felt like she was sinking a blade into you by just looking at you. The woman looked at people as if they were something to be taken apart. Hernandez was not certain if the woman's arctic gaze was a form of compensation for her almost non-existent jaw, but the facts were hardly noticed when the rest of the person terrified you. "Señor Hernandez, I trust that you had a pleasant flight. Please have a seat," she greeted the nervous executive and motioned toward a chair. "Yes," Hernandez nodded nervously after sitting down. "Has your company found the facilities and freedom offered by Ocean Lab to its liking?" Zarina quizzed. "Yes. It is good to know that our services are appreciated. Our relationship must be one of mutual benefit if it is to continue." Mutual benefit. Hernandez repeated the words and wondered what the board could possibly want. Yes, as you know, Ocean Lab is the dirty little secret that the scientific community keeps to itself. It knows about it, benefits from it, but won't openly acknowledge it. It is that way by design. However, our non-existence can prove troublesome. That is where our clients come in, Serena explained. How so? He pressed. We have a client that has requested certain raw materials that only we know of. We are more than happy to supply the much-needed materials but do not have the required export paperwork to do so. For that we must turn to one of our trusted clients. She treated the shady transaction as a mere triviality. Is that why you mailed us that manifest? Hernandez asked after retrieving the printout from his briefcase. Of course, 3 3-liter bottles of different powdered materials. A small parcel that would mean the world to our new client. Our chemists are not familiar with the materials listed. We will not run afoul of the authorities, he protested. Have your people studied the materials? Yes. Are they volatile? No. Are they illegal? We can't say for certain. These agents are not listed in our databases. Are they lethal? No. Then what possible objections could you have? I don't know. Hernandez wavered. A display of support for your fellow scientists would place you on the preferred clients list, Serena sweetened the pot. I cannot see the harm if we ship the bottles, Hernandez surrendered. Very good. You will not regret this decision. After Hernandez signed the contract that Serena placed before him, he was escorted out of the room and Serena was left alone. Being able to sell to agents brought with it a feeling of satisfaction and personal achievement. The components and the recipe that combined them were the creation of Petrov, her comrade, lab partner, and the only man whose affections she ever coveted. Petrov had created the compound and its 3 base components for the glory of Russia. Russia had not properly appreciated Petrov's genius and they had taken their secrets with them after the fall of the Soviet Empire. Now their work was mostly forgotten by all but a precious few. Soon the glory of Petrov would be reflected by those that benefited from the formula, and she would deliver that glory to Petrov. Miss Zarina, a soft voice interrupted the lady scientist's fantasies. Zarina found Tara standing in her office. Tara was an attractive girl in her 20s with light-colored hair and an attractive face. The girl was trained as a pilot and often acted as Zarina's spy. Tara, has Senor Hernandez taken possession of the package? A replacement pilot will go with you. I am giving you a short pass. Make sure the package is shipped and then enjoy yourself. Yes, ma'am, Tara saluted and left the room.